experience connecting with your character, Luke?
What was cool is finding the inside of like having to deal with these mundane things that you would think of, like paying rent and these things it's not as flashy as a superhero. It's almost like someone saying like a celebrity life is not as flashy when you go on TV and then you end up going in like a small apartment. But I had a great time shooting it, and you know, we shot so fast. It was so fast, but at the same time, I would do it again.
Playing a superhero.
Yeah.
What was that like, and how does it compare to other work?
To me, that was really fun to be able to dig into how a superhero would react to something so simple, you know, that humans, not just superheroes, but humans actually have to deal with every day. And to me, that was really fun. And that's what's great about the show. I just thought it was just genius because I've never really seen that.
I am curious about the transition now that you're making, having started your own website from the role of a performer, which is probably very rewarding but specific to a content creator. What has that been like?
It's been, you know, for that, I feel like there's a creativity behind it, and I think that's, for me, that's what's really fun. I get to mold the creativity with outside of the aspect of just being a content creator, but also like the commerce side of it, you know, and the stuff that we put up, people can also purchase, and we're introducing brands to people, and that's what's really fun to me, because sometimes you see this great product and no one knows about it, or no one is utilizing it properly or to its maximum ability. And that's what's fun for me, is to be able to introduce those two, meld together, and introduce it to a whole new audience. And you know, sometimes some people really love gadgets or technology, and some people have no clue. So I think that's what's really fun to bridge the gap.
You've mentioned you've always felt like a geek growing up. I was curious if you could tell us a little bit about that, and how has that impacted the projects that you've chosen and partnerships?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. The reason I called this site called 10th and 4th is that those are the streets, the intersection that when I first grew up and realized that I love performing and the arts, and also my passion for just technology, you know. And I think there's a side of it being, there's people who are programmers, and that's not me, you know, because I couldn't tell you about coding, but I just love the fact of how these gadgets, like I said before, enhance your life, and that's and the two together is kind of like the intersection between the two. And for projects wise, I feel like it's the same thing, like going back to geeking out on stuff. I just geek out on dance and acting and technology, and sharing that with people.
What can fans expect from 10th and 4th?
Fans can expect, you know, there's a lot of gadgets and technology and fashion out there, and I like useful technology. I like useful gadgets, something that kind of enhances your life, whether it be a robotic vacuum to you know, to a simple app that's going to enhance your life. And same thing with fashion. It's becoming like wearable tech is a big thing right now, and people want a band to tell them how many steps they're walking, how many calories they're burning, and even with the Google Glass, I feel like it's just, we're advancing so much, and I think we're heading towards that direction where it's becoming more acceptable to infuse technology into our culture.
Which is much more Penny Blue of you than...
Very Penny Blue, yes. We're not there yet to get a huge robot that can fly yet.
I noticed that you've been linking a lot tech and fashion in that, and you've drawn sort of a parallel between the like functional wearables. Yeah. But what else draws those two together for you? It's interesting.
I think what draws the two is it's something that's been embedded in. I think we were moving towards that. The technology is so ingrained in our culture. You know, our phone is basically an extension. It's a third hand. You know, and same thing when you look at like a Google Glass. It's becoming. There's been a good, positive, and a negative view of it, but I think that's what happens with any new technology. Because I always bring up the story of, like, you know, when people used to ride horses, and when the car kind of came about, people were like scoffing at it and be like, I don't want to be in a metal box. And now it's a normal thing, and if you don't have a car, it's like a weird thing, you know. And I look at it as just a natural progression in our time.
What are some of your favorite apps and gadgets that you guys have covered so far?
Another one is Giffer, which it creates GIFs basically, but you can put in your videos, and the way you do it, you have total control of each frame. And I mean, those make great things to send through text or to share through Twitter or whatever.
That's awesome. You were saying earlier that GIFs are currently one of your favorite sort of expressive forms, right?
They are, because there's something about the loop, and then you can also loop it backwards and forward. And I don't know, somehow it just makes something funnier. Or, you know, I was at a wedding, and I did a GIF of my friends kind of doing their first dance, and then I sent it to them. And something about that is it's almost like a portrait, but a moving portrait that you can have digitally. And I think that's really cool, because pictures are perfect, great. Video sometimes, you know, you have to sit down and watch it, but GIFs is something quick and can spark an emotion, which I think is cool.
And actually, that makes a certain amount of sense, given that you have obviously a very talented dance background, and are a choreographer as well. So it's expression through movement.
Yeah,
it makes sense
exactly.
that would be the thing.
I love movement. Yeah, and that's a big part of the site, is, you know, something that moves you, you know, whether it be technology that moves you, or fashion, obviously, you know, it moves you in a way. And I think that's what's really cool about it. And obviously I come from a dance background too, so anything in that aspect of moving, I want to put in the website as well.
That's awesome. I'm a huge fan of both comic books and musicals, so it's kind of amazing for me where I'm like, you don't get that crossover very often. There are some connections, I guess, in terms of they're both heightened forms of storytelling.
They are. Yeah, that is true. That is true. I think that's why they've been putting, some have worked, some have not, but they've been trying to put more. I saw Batman live. That was fun. How was that? I had fun. I had so much fun. You know, it wasn't a musical per se, but it was just that live aspect had that Broadway feel, and I had fun, man. I turned into a little kid. They give you the Batman, the mask, so I was wearing it while watching it the whole time, and just rooting for Batman while, you know, because it was every villain came out, Penguin, Joker, Harvey, and Harley Quinn.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was really fun. I had a great time.
That's awesome. Colin Fraser, or Tordaku on Twitter, said, with so many diverse talents, what kind of project would be your dream job that could do it all?
My gosh, that is a hard one. I guess someone, I think what's really, for my dream job, would be able to be in an environment where I get to create content, which I'm essentially doing, but at the same time, within like a film that is able to extend outside and to create content on the internet as well, and also be on the big screen, and also work with brands that are able to, that have a greater cause that helps what the story is for the film. And I think a lot of films are doing that. Essentially, that would be my dream job, to have my hands in everything in that sense, because I think I love the digital platform, and obviously I love film and television.
And there was a bit of transmedia going on with Caper, where you had Luke had a Twitter account.
Yeah, and I think that's, to me, it's heading towards that direction, and obviously I'm working towards being someone who's able to tell the stories that I want to tell, but I'm already being part of a lot of great shows as well.